Throw a rock at the official Bricks Facebook group and you are guaranteed to hit a post like this. I'm new to Bricks, which add-on should I get? Do I really need a framework? What's the difference between ACSS and Core Framework and Advanced Themer and whatever else? I do understand it can all feel a bit confusing and overwhelming when you come into Bricks for the first time. So, I'm Dave Foy, and across this two-part series, I'm going to help you understand what's out there in the world of Bricks add-ons. You can think of this as a bit like an overview map of the Bricks add-ons landscape right now. Now, before I go any further, just let me quickly set two expectations. One, this isn't going to be some big-ass comprehensive list of every single Bricks add-on there is. Far from it. I'm actually going to be highly selective. I am just picking just the ones that I think are quality and are well worth your while. And if I miss your favorite add-on, don't shout abuse at the screen. Can't hear you anyway. Right? Just drop a comment below and share your favorite add-ons with everyone. Now, for an actual very comprehensive list, check out Sridhar's Bricks link list here, which he always keeps up to date. Link in the description. And two, if you're hoping for tutorials on how to use these add-ons here, you're out of luck. Although I will do some tutorials in other videos coming soon. If you want to know when I release those videos, you could hit that subscribe button below and click the little notification bell. I'm just saying. I will add timestamps and links below to all the add-ons that I cover in these videos. Oh, and I've made you a PDF cheat sheet for you to refer back to with all of the recommended add-ons that I'm going to cover across both videos in this series. And the cheat sheet has bullet point reminders for why you may or may not want to choose between any of them. If you want the cheat sheet, head over to davefoy.link/bricks add-ons. Tell me where to send the cheat sheet and I'll fire it over to you. No worries. All right. Here are all the categories: CSS frameworks, template libraries, utilities, elements, Gutenberg, animation, dynamic, code managers, and forms. So in part one, right, that's this video here, I'm going to cover CSS frameworks and template libraries only because they're the big ones, right? There's a lot to say about them and there's a lot to show you. And then I'm going to cover the rest of them in part two, which I'm going to release very shortly. When part two is live, there'll be a card up here somewhere with a link to it, but I will also drop a link to part two in the description under this video as well. All right, let's crack on. What's a CSS framework? If you've never heard of one before, you can think of a framework as a bit like an automated design system. The developer of the framework has already solved for you a ton of challenges that you'll experience when designing and building for the web, particularly when it comes to styling, which is why they're called CSS frameworks. A CSS framework can massively reduce your development time, remove a huge amount of mental overhead and decision-making, automatically make your layouts look great and consistent across your entire site, and make it way, way easier to further develop and maintain your site styles in future. Now, I used to think that frameworks were maybe for more advanced users, you know, something that you might think about adding to the mix once you've built a few brick sites and you've done things the long way around, the hard way. But in more recent months, I've started to change my mind. You see, because of all the problem solving that the framework has already done for you and all the automation of so many different things, well, I would estimate that a good framework makes web development at least, 80% easier and therefore a lot more fun. And I am now definitely thinking this is true, especially for beginners. You know, the non-coders, the non-designers, they've just got all of this stuff automated and done for them. I mean, I've been building websites for 25 years now, and I often feel like using a framework is a bit like a web design cheat code. So, which frameworks do I recommend you consider checking out? Well, there are a few framework add-ons for Bricks, but by far the two most popular that you'll hear people arguing about, recommending are Automatic CSS, or ACSS for short, and Core Framework, which is Core for short, I think. Anyway, they are both excellent frameworks, but people do tend to have a strong opinion about one or the other. And the reason for the strong opinions either way is because both frameworks have a very different approach and a quite different philosophy of what a framework should be. The complete opposite, in fact. And which one you gel with very much depends on how you like to work and maybe how your brain is wired up. So I am going to try here and give you my ideas on the major fundamental differences between these two frameworks and why you might decide to choose one over the other. Oh, before we do, you might have a burning question right now. Hang on, why is Advanced Themer not here? Isn't that a framework? I do hear a lot of people asking if they should get ACSS or Advanced Themer, or Core Framework or Advanced Themer. Sure, one part of Advanced Themer's huge feature set are some lightweight framework-like capabilities, like more automated color management and CSS variables with built-in fluid responsiveness. So yeah, there is a little bit of crossover, because dedicated framework add-ons have these features as well. And some people are quite happy using the lightweight framework features in Advanced Themer and not bothering with a separate dedicated framework at all, which is totally fine. But I and many others use a dedicated, more fully featured framework add-on and Advanced Themer. I love Advanced Themer, can't do without it now, and a huge amount of Advanced Themer's features are very different from a framework. And it's for that reason that Advanced Themer is not in the frameworks category here. I'll be covering it separately in part 2. Make sense? Okay, let's take ACSS first. Here is the ACSS website, link in the description. Now for speed, because I've got a lot to cover, I'm just going to let you check the site out yourself. So why might you choose ACSS? Well, boiling it down, I'd say that there are 3 main principles behind ACSS, and as you'll see shortly, Core Framework is pretty much the opposite. Very much on purpose. All right, 1. ACSS is very fully featured. It is a complete framework with everything done for you, including loads of features that you didn't even know that you needed. But once you have them in your toolbox, you can't do without them. 2, it is highly opinionated, meaning the structure of the framework and the options that you have available when you're setting up the framework, they're all set in stone. So the structure of the framework is fixed and it's what you get. And as an ACSS user, you trust and accept that. Now, that might sound like a downside, right? But it's not, at least not the way I see it anyway. The big benefit of this is that every single ACSS install on every site that you will ever use it on is consistent and the same. Now, to be clear, sure, yeah, you can and will change all kinds of settings to your liking because every setting is highly customizable. But what I mean is, you can't add or amend the core structural aspects of the framework. And that is based on a very purposeful philosophy of what a framework should be. You know, it's not an oversight or a lack of features. It is very much on purpose. And 3, it's a front-end workflow, meaning that you actually work with ACSS entirely on the front end of your site, rather than managing all your settings in some separate control panel somewhere else. So by front end, I mean it's either while you're working in the Bricks editor UI, building your pages, or even directly on the live front end pages of your website. Now, actually, I need to qualify this. This front end interface workflow is how things will work soon in ACSS 3.0, which is landing with us very shortly, at the time of me recording this anyway. I've been an alpha tester for a few weeks now, and this front-end workflow just means you don't have to go hunting somewhere in the WordPress admin area to amend the framework settings, which is all pretty much exactly the opposite of Core Framework. I am going to drop a link to Core Framework in the description below as well. Now, although I personally chime more with the ACSS philosophy, all right, there's no point in me hiding that, Core Framework is an excellent framework as well, with a brilliant dev team. It's just that it just does things very differently. And I know plenty of people who very much love working with Core Framework. Again, I'm going to let you check out the website yourself. And I would say that these coming up are the 3 main principles of Core Framework. And you will notice they are the exact opposite of ACSS. 1, it is not a complete, fully featured framework. Far from it. And that's the entire point. You know, again, it's not an oversight or a lack of features. Core Framework is intentionally like a bare bones starting point. It gives you the skeleton tools to basically build your own framework, which a lot of people really appreciate because they actually want that flexibility. 2, it is not opinionated at all. It doesn't provide a fixed framework structure or, in fact, any opinions about how you should structure or use the framework. It is just really open-ended, and it provides a lot of flexibility, which again is something a lot of people prefer. They want that unlimited flexibility to be able to change things up, even project by project. And of course, they accept the trade-off that you just can't assume that Core Framework will be structured the same on all websites that you might use it on. And 3, You build and manage the framework and change its settings in a separate area from your website. So as you can see here, there's a separate area that you log into and you manage directly. It's actually in your account control panel on Core Framework's website. So both of them are very different, as you can see. And which one you choose depends on how you like to work and which philosophy of what a framework should be resonates with you personally. Once again, both of them are excellent. And if you haven't used either of them yet, you probably won't know which philosophy or model you prefer. So my advice is just try them both on a project. Please don't rely on someone else telling you which one you should use. And that includes me. People will just often tell you what suits them and their style of working, which might not be yours. Let's look at the pricing for both of them. Oh, and this throws up again another major difference. This time in the actual business model. So first, ACSS works with several builders actually. Bricks, Oxygen, Quickly, rest in peace, Breakdance, Generate Blocks, and the native Gutenberg block editor. And so for the one price that you pay, you can use ACSS in all the builders it supports. So you don't pay separately for different versions for different builders. Let's check out the pricing. So basically, for an annual payment, you can use it on either 3 live sites or 100 live sites. Or there's a one-time lifetime payment to use on 100 live sites. Now, it depends on your hourly rate, of course, but you should save any of these back within, I don't know, a couple of days to a week, just because of how fast and efficient ACSS makes you. And the rest of it is all profit. All right, let's see how Core Framework's pricing and business model is different. So you can see that Core Framework operates on a freemium model. So you can think of it as like a free standalone user interface for creating your own framework. Now, for the free version, it doesn't actually matter what your site is built in. You just set up the framework in your control panel, however you want it, and then you just copy and paste some CSS code into your site. However, you can pay if you want a more direct integration with your chosen builder. Actually, I tell a lie, the direct integration is free if you're using native Gutenberg. But I mean, God bless you if you're doing that. You have my sympathies. Or if you use Bricks, and I think you do, then it's €119 as a one-off fee to be directly integrated with unlimited Bricks websites. What this means is, if you pay for the Bricks add-on for that direct integration, your framework settings will always automatically sync with your Bricks websites. So that just gives you then access to all your Core Framework classes and variables in the Bricks builder without having to constantly copy and paste CSS code every time you make a change, which is a big time saver. But you can see different pricing models, different business models entirely. And which one you choose, if you choose one at all, depends on which philosophy and model appeals to you. Anyway, that is more than enough on frameworks. Oh, hey, if you're finding this video helpful so far, give us a like below. Very grateful to you. Thanks. Oh, and drop me a comment. Let me know if you use a CSS framework with Bricks, and if so, which one and why. Oh, and if you don't use one, well, let me know that too. And I'd love to know why as well. Let me know in the comments. All right, let's move on to template libraries. Template library is basically a selection of pre-designed and pre-built layouts and components that you can use when building your website. Now, obviously, the main benefit of using a pre-built template library is speed. Building using layouts someone else has already pre-built for you massively speeds up a build, which in turn massively increases your profitability. Ka-ching. So it makes a lot of business sense. Let's face it, most of the time, if you're custom designing and custom building every single bit of your website from scratch, then you're just reinventing the wheel a lot of the time. And 2, template libraries are great if you're not naturally a designer as well, because someone else has already designed them for you. But guess what? Even shit-hot designers use template libraries. Most designers don't start with a blank page, especially the ones that want to work fast and efficiently and actually make a profit. Template libraries are especially valuable for the early wireframing stage of a project, so they allow you just to quickly throw together wireframe layouts and ideas and iterate on those ideas very quickly indeed. And unlike the old days where we used to have to design wireframes in a graphics package as PDFs, once the wireframes were done and approved by the client, then you'd have to start again from scratch, building the actual web pages. Quite a waste of time. Well, here, when you use templates, for wireframing. The actual web pages are already pretty much built, so it's a massive time saver. So what am I looking for in a template library? Well, not much really. I mean, I'd like a wide range of great looking designs, of course. I want them to be well coded and structured. I want accessibility as a top priority. I want the library to be regularly added to and improved. It is nice if they integrate with your chosen framework, if you use one. Oh, and I really do not want to see pixel values anywhere. Anything set in pixels, it's a hard no from me. It's not 2005 anymore. Oh, and I want excellent support from the developer as well. So not too much to ask, right? Now, there seems to be new template libraries being released practically every day at the moment, and I can tell you now, most of them are junk, and most of them don't even nearly meet my criteria. However, I am going to show you 3 that do. So, Frames. Let's start with Frames first. Frames is a library of pre-made sections and dynamic components. It's made by the same guys who make ACSS. Here's the website. And I am going to let you check this out for yourself. Link below. What does Frames have going for it? Well, first, ACSS is required to use Frames. And Frames only works with ACSS. Now, the benefit of that is, if you're an ACSS user anyway, is that you have a very tightly integrated template library. In fact, it is the best integration with ACSS of the 3 libraries I'm going to be recommending in this video for obvious reasons. You see, a lot of other template libraries, they often use their own ad hoc styling and random hard-coded font sizes and spacing that the add-on library's developer quite likes the look of, but they don't match my own site. And so then, it takes you hours to unpick and undo and replace it all with your site's design system. Whereas you drop a Frames template into a Bricks page, and it automatically just takes on your site's ACSS design system, the typography, the spacing, the gaps, the color palette settings. 2, the templates are purposefully bare bones, black and white, unstyled. I mean, the structure and the layouts are there, obviously, but there are no fancy design flourishes, no fancy colors. As I say, a lot of template libraries look really pretty. They've got completely finished designs, which is nice, but you usually have a load of work ahead to make it match the actual site you're working on. So Frames purposefully provides everything wireframe style, so you're not fighting against some other website styling. Perfect, in fact, for actually wireframing out a website and then further developing the designs to the finished final pages. So you save a lot of time and you don't have to start again from scratch. 3, the templates are extremely well coded. In fact, there is quite an insane amount of care and thought gone into the semantic HTML structure and accessibility and SEO. To use an example, I'm going to come up to the Bricks template library and grab a Frames template to drop onto the canvas. I've already set Frames up as a remote template library back in Bricks main settings, which is why I have the Frames library here in the drop-down. I already know that I want a template called Feature Section Charlie, so I'll search for that. There it is, and insert. Now, the reason I'm using this particular frame as an example is because I dropped this exact template into my own website to make this page. Literally took me less than 5 minutes to tweak it to this finished design. Basically, it's a load of photos of me pulling stupid faces. Sorry about that. But anyway, back to Bricks. So here, I just want to give you a kind of tip of the iceberg idea of the crazy amount of care and attention to detail that goes into Frames templates. So in terms of HTML structure and accessibility, see this container for this grid of cards? So if I come over to the settings panel, you can see that the container has a custom HTML tag of UL, or unordered list, which is like a bulleted list if you don't know HTML. Why is that? Well, it's because in terms of correct semantic structure, this is a list of things. A list of videos in my case, but it could be a list of articles, a list of services, a list of team members. So in the underlying HTML, all the list items are wrapped in a UL tag or unordered list, like it should be. And then here, let's come over to the list items, each video in my case, or each blog post or whatever. And because this is an individual list item, back to the settings, well, Frames gives that an HTML tag of LI, a list item. Perfect choice of HTML elements and structure. I mean, even if you don't understand HTML, you can just rest assured that it's all structured properly. Let's do another example. How about this accent heading? Now, we visually want this accent heading to be first, right? So on the canvas, on the live page, we'd want the accent heading above this main section heading here. But in terms of correct HTML structure and for best accessibility, a section needs to start with a main section heading, an H2. It's a bit like a new chapter in a book. You've got the chapter heading at the start. If I check out what element this accent heading is, you can see it's actually just a basic text element set to be a paragraph, which is fine. But having some body text floating around before the chapter heading, or the section heading in this case, is a big no-no. And so Frames, by default anyway, has the section heading first, and then the accent heading next. Now you can see that in the structure panel. So that is correct in terms of structure and accessibility. And so all we need to do now is swap the visual order around so it looks as we want it. So with the accent heading selected, go over to its settings, and in style and layout, scroll down a bit, all the way down to order, and we just set the order to -1. An order of -1 just puts the element visually the first in its container, but it leaves the HTML structure in the structure panel alone, as it should be. I could show you lots and lots of other examples like this, but we haven't got all day, so let's move on. Next, all the templates use proper BEM naming for classes. So you get all the benefits that BEM brings. Like, it's very easy to understand what all the classes are doing. You do not risk class names clashing with others across the site by accident. And the templates are all really easy to modify and maintain. For example, the section has a BEM block class, the B in BEM, right? So that has a class of feature section Charlie on it. Well, FR, feature section Charlie, just because all Frames classes are prefixed with FR, just to stop them clashing with any of your own classes. But now in terms of BEM, well, it's tempting to just blindly give all the nested elements inside the section a BEM element class based off of feature section Charlie. You know, like feature section Charlie, _ intro alpha. If you know BEM, you'll know what I mean. If you don't worry. But see the class on this next wrapper? It's FR intro alpha. So the BEM naming has just started all over again at the top level with a whole new class. And this is absolutely bang on correct, because a BEM block class, again, that's the B in BEM, is meant to be for any reusable components that you could use independently anywhere on the site. And would we want to be able to use and style this section intro anywhere on our site? Hell yeah, of course we do. So here, that's why Frames gives this intro alpha wrapper a brand new top level BEM block class. No double underscores. I mean, yeah, in the structure, it is nested inside the section, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it should automatically get a double underscore element class, just because it's nested inside the section. Giving this intro block its own BEM block class means that we can reuse it anywhere we like, which is exactly how BEM is supposed to work. You can see that these cards, let's have a look at these cards. They also have a top level BEM block class as well, feature card Charlie in this case. Again, they're not nested BEM element classes with double underscores. They are new top level block classes. And that's because these cards can be and should be completely reusable anywhere on the site, independent of this particular section with the list of photos of my face or whatever it's a list of. And as I say, you know, if you don't use BEM or you haven't got your head around it yet, please don't worry. Just know that Frames gets its BEM class naming absolutely right. And the templates are constantly being added to, several each month actually, and the team are really responsive to feedback and suggestions for new templates. And one major benefit of Frames, the templates are modular. What does that mean? I'll show you. Like here with pricing delta, for example. So you could add this entire section if you like. See, it has a 2-column layout at the top. It's got some content and a pricing list. And then there's another separate container underneath with some testimonials. But because the templates are modular, you can separately just use the pricing grid from the top of the section, or just the pricing list itself, or even just an individual pricing card. Any repeatable component or BEM block, if you like, is available to use separately. And this modular approach is how I think we should be naming our classes and building websites generally, so that everything is modular and reusable. Also, the Frames library doesn't just have layout templates, but also this set of pre-built dynamic components built with top accessibility in mind. Things like switches, tabs, accordions, sliders, modals. There's even a complete custom menu builder coming. And finally, the support that you get with Frames is absolutely top-notch via a dedicated support group. And Kevin Geary, the founder of ACSS and Frames, you might have heard of him. He makes regular YouTube videos showing you how to use Frames and best practice in doing so. I would say support and customer education with Frames is fantastic. So, to price him, that's here. I mean, I consider this pricing an absolute steal, really. And this goes for all 3 template libraries that I'm covering here, actually. Now, question. What happens if you stop paying for Frames? Well, if you decide not to renew at any point, you're not going to have access to the Frames template library anymore, obviously. But any templates that you've added to your sites already, they just remain there. You're not going to lose any templates that you've already used. You know, they don't get deleted. The only thing that will stop working is if you've used any of the dynamic components. And that is just because the underlying code to run them isn't going to be there anymore. If you exclusively use ACSS and you value the level of attention paid to accessibility and correct HTML structure, then I would say Frames is worth considering. Oh, by the way, if you're new to Bricks or you need some help getting up to speed, I have a free on-demand Bricks masterclass that thousands of people have taken so far. Go to davefoy.link/Bricks masterclass to jump on the class. Well, wait until you've finished this video first. My second template library recommendation is Brixes. Now, at the time of recording anyway, Brixes is a relative newcomer. Here's the website for you to check out. You can guess where the link is. Here are some highlights. With Brixes, you get access to all the templates in both ACSS and Core Framework versions. So if you use either of those frameworks, then you're good. You're not just limited to ACSS. Just note though, if you use Core Framework, you do also need Core Framework's paid Bricks add-on, which I talked about earlier. That is just because Core Framework needs to integrate directly with Bricks for Brixes to be able to integrate with Core Framework. And as you can see, Brixes templates are black and white as well, wireframe style, no fancy styling, so you're not battling against fully designed and finished templates, which is a good thing. And the Brixes team are constantly adding new templates. They tell me at a rate of 10 new templates a week. That is quite an astounding rate of new templates. Brixes also has a nice feature where you can copy and paste the templates from your online Brixes account directly into your Bricks pages. I'm logged into my paid Brixes account now. So I'll come into the library. I'm going to choose the ACSS version. If you use Core Framework, then you know what to do here. So I'm going to scroll down to find a template to copy and paste. I'll go with this one. So all I need to do is hit copy, flick over to Bricks, and paste it in. And there's a template. And now I can open it all up in the structure panel. I can start editing the template and tweaking it to my little heart's content. I must say, I much prefer this way of browsing and filtering templates that Brixes have got going on here. And if I click a template, this way of previewing templates is really nice as well. It's nice and clear and it's easy to see what you're getting. I especially like that there are real web page previews. So I'm going to click this little icon here. This icon is also in the library listing view that we were just on as well. And here you get real web page previews of the templates. Yeah, these are not screenshots. And you have these handy responsive icons up here to check them out at these 3 breakpoints. Another really nice feature is that you can rename the BEM classes used in the templates before you copy and paste the template into your site. Now, this is excellent if you use BEM for class naming, but you want to use your own block naming convention, as long as you're careful. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm in CTA sections here. I'll just use this one, CTA section 20. But before I copy, I'm going to click rename class. There's an example down here on the right of a default class name in this template. So the default top level block is CTA20. That is the B in BEM. And then this double underscore container is just showing you an example of an element in the template as well. That is the E in BEM. But let's say I want my block class to be just CTA. Nice and easy. In the rename class field, I'll type CTA, then rename and copy. That's now renamed all the classes in the template and it's copied the template to my clipboard. And here's a preview of what the BEM classes are going to look like now. Let's go see. So back to Bricks again. I'll paste that in. Yep, excellent. And now let's check her out. So I'll select the top level section. And yep, that has a class of CTA. You can see that in the classes over on the left. So that's the BEM block class that I renamed. And then I'll open it up. This is the first element. So the container has a class of CTA double underscore container. If you understand BEM, you'll know what's going on. I'll open it up further. So we've got the image wrapper. That's for the left-hand column, CTA double underscore image wrapper, and then CTA double underscore container info. So that is all great. Although, as I mentioned when looking at frames, just be careful of if the template has any reusable components inside it that you could use across the site independently of this section. If you want to use BEM properly, you will want to manually rename the classes on those to suit your own needs. But this automatic BEM renaming feature is a very good head start. Now, as with all template libraries, you are going to usually want to tweak the design a bit. So, for example, I'd like a little less padding here inside the right-hand column. So I'll select the container info div here. That's the wrapper for this right-hand column content. Come over to the left-hand settings panel. I'll select the class to style it, and then come to style and layout. And yep, the padding is set with an ACSS space variable all around, space XL in this case. So I could say, oh, hang on, I'll just link all the sides. So I could drop this down one t-shirt size from XL to L. All right, nice and easy. And it still all takes on my site-wide ACSS spacing rules. Sweet. So you can see how useful the copy and paste and rename classes features are. Oh, also, nearly forgot, Brixes has a Figma file available for all the templates. That is both for the free templates and for all the paid templates that you get with a paid account. All organized the same as the Brix templates with the variables. And there are files for ACSS and Core Framework. And just to say, Brixes also has a dedicated support group as well. And the guys behind Brixes are very responsive to support requests. I know for a fact they are very dedicated to supporting and improving this young product. Pricing, you say? Let's check it out. And if we scroll down, so you see there's the option of either an annual subscription or a lifetime deal. Both of these options let you use Brixes on unlimited projects. All the templates have a version for both frameworks. So it doesn't matter if you use ACSS or Core Framework. And you get Figma files for all templates with a paid account. And they do provide a free account with some free layouts as well. And there are 14 free layouts for now, just to allow you to get a feel for them and test them out. Okay, last but no means least is BrixMaven. BrixMaven is an excellent template library that I've got a lot of time for. It's been around for a relatively long time now, ever since I can remember when I first started using Brix anyway. Unlike the other two, BrixMaven has support not only for ACSS, and Core Framework, but also plain old CSS as well, which is the perfect option if you don't use either of those frameworks. Now, just to be really clear about how this works, you will have all three of these options if you're using any of the free blocks. And there is a really generous allowance of free blocks here, but I'll come back to that in a second. But when you buy a paid account, you have to make a choice. You have to choose which version that you want. So for example, when I bought BrixMaven, I chose the ACSS version. So if I filter the library down now to show all the blocks, including the paid ones, you'll see here that I only actually have the ability to copy ACSS on any of the paid templates because it's the ACSS version that I paid for, which leads me on to copy and paste. Like Brixes, yeah, you can also copy and paste BrixMaven templates directly into Brix. So I am just going to copy this one, flick back to Brix, paste it in, and there it is. Also, I think BrixMaven's templates are especially well-coded and structured, and there's a lot of care and attention being paid to integration with the frameworks. So for example, what I see here is what I'd expect of a template using ACSS. It's respecting my default styles in terms of spacing, in terms of typography. Let's look a bit deeper. So I'm going to select this card. I'll come and find it in the structure panel, open it up, and it's one of these divs labeled card inside the grid cards wrapper. And then select the class just to check out the styles. Let's have a look at the padding. Excellent. That padding is set with an ACSS space variable as well, and could maybe pop that down from large to medium in this case. That's space M. I want to check out the content gap spacing as well. So content gap is back up in content, and then whiz down to row gap. Yep, so this template here is using the ACSS content gap contextual variable, which is great to see because apart from Frames, which has the perfect integration with ACSS, obviously, I do see other libraries using a space variable for content gap, but BrixMaven gets this kind of thing right. What about the structure and BEM naming? Let's have a look. So I have a section up here. It's got a class of grid32. And there's a container inside that has a grid32 _ container class. Cool so far. But then the next thing nested inside the container is an intro wrapper. So that's this intro section at the top of the page. See the classes on it? Intro and intro left. Notice that's a whole new top level BEM block class again. It's not grid32 _ intro as you might expect. And this is BEM best practice right here. And a BEM modifier as well. intro _left. That's the M in BEM. Again, if you don't use BEM or you haven't got your head around it yet, don't worry about this. Just know that BricsMaven gets its BEM naming absolutely spot on. And there are lots of thoughtful best practice touches like this all over the templates. For example, this accent heading, which again has it placed after the section heading in the structure panel in the underlying code, so that the section heading is first as it should be, but it uses an order of -1 to put it visually first in the container. BricsMaven also has a support group where, as I've said already, the developer is really responsive and helpful. Let's check out the pricing. So I'll click Get It Now. As we saw already, BricsMaven has the best free offering of the template libraries I've shown you here. There are actually 109 free blocks so far, which is very generous. I think we can all agree. And then for full access, it is $99 a year. But with BricsMaven, you choose which version of the templates you want to use. So if you use ACSS, you choose the ACSS version. If you use Core Framework, you choose that. And if you use neither of those, then you just go with vanilla CSS. There is a lifetime deal as well. And that is basically $350 one time. And beyond the three that I've covered here, I cannot recommend any other template libraries that I've trialed. Poor HTML structure, poor accessibility, random size units and measurements, often in pixels. A template library is supposed to help me work faster and more efficiently, not cause me extra work. Anyway, that wraps up part 1. Now, we've only covered 2 categories here, but they are both heavyweights. Don't forget, I can send you a PDF cheat sheet of all the recommended add-ons across this entire series, parts 1 and 2. If you want the cheat sheet, just head over to davefoy.link/bricks-addons and I will fire that cheat sheet over to you. Now, keep an eye out for part 2. When I release that shortly, there'll be a link to it here and in the description below. Do me a favor, drop me a comment below and let me know which frameworks and which template libraries you like and why. And I'll see you in part 2.